Hello and welcome to C.A.L.M Center. So today we'll be talking about why wait till marriage to have sex from a non-religious perspective. I know that growing up as teenagers, as people who were attending catechism classes or probably Sunday school, when you are taught about the importance of preserving your bodies to the Lord, your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and there's a lot of fear surrounding the reason why we have to abstain from these things. There is fear, there is you're being threatened. If you do this will happen to you. Many times as Christians, I think that the reason why we don't do certain things is because of fear, mainly because of fear, and not necessarily because we think that staying away from those things are going to benefit us. We are not really told, okay, if you don't do this, there's one personal thing you're going to gain. There's something it's going to do for you as an individual. Not necessarily because your parent is going to flog you. Not necessarily because, there's one punishment or God is going to punish you or with the fear of hell, really. So I think that as Christians, it's okay for you to start your Christian journey, having probably been afraid of hell and all of that, which may have curtailed you from engaging in certain things. That's okay. But then I also think that as we grow older in our Christian journey, as we grow older in our walk with God, we have to get to a point where we are like, but really, what is really there to this? Because when we become adults, we are no more living with our parents. Our parents may not really have that much control on us in terms of what we do or what we don't do. There will come a time in your life when it is not because of your personal convictions, it is not because of your personal discipline that you refuse to do certain things. And you need more stronger reasons, really, as to why you do not need to engage in certain things. So I think that even when we look at the religious perspective of things, we should also look at it from a non-religious perspective. So growing up, we had all of these teachings that were given to us. We had all of this, moral standards that we had. Fantastic moral standards that we were taught as kids. Don't do this, don't do that. And many of them were revolving around fear. So I said to myself, what are the other reasons? Because when these children grow older and realize that, even because, for some of our parents, they tell us that once a man touches you like this, bam, you're pregnant. And we are afraid and we're like, oh, we need to stay away from boys, because they were too afraid to really talk about these things in details. They were afraid to talk about it as they are. They prefer to use fear as a way to get a child to do what needs to be done. Right? But I think that there will come a time when we have to be practical about these things and really talk about these things in the way that it is, in a way to actually encourage these children to do right by themselves for their own good, and not because there's some serious consequences that you as a parent will met out to them or God will met out to them. Okay? Because even when God tells us to do certain things, he also at some point reminds us of the benefits of doing those things, even from your own personal benefit as well. Because it's fantastic and amazing that we do lots of things for God because we want his name to be glorified. Amazing. But then there's also benefits that we have as believers, personal benefits that we have, all right, when we do those things that please God. Yes, but then there's also a personal benefit. So what are those personal benefits? What are those, should I say, non-religious perspective, apart from the fact that you're doing it to honor God, you're doing it to, honor your marriage? What are those personal benefits that are there when we say we don't want to engage in premarital sex? So, generally speaking, the truth is, there's a lot of evil in this world. Sex is not evil, don't get me wrong. I'm just using this as a preamble to talk about the main thing I intend to talk about. So there's a lot of evil in the world, a lot of things are going on. I'm like, do people who think like this really exist? Can a human being possess, these evil thoughts, evil ideas, and, perpetrate these evil actions? And I'm like, how do we really curtail things from getting this bad? How do we curtail our generation from getting to a point where we have become irredeemable, really? And I think that the reason why I was thinking about this topic yesterday, and I realized that the truth is, one of the reasons that I think that waiting till marriage is important, or the reason why I think that waiting till marriage should be ideal, or should be preached more about, or spoken more about, or is advised to wait till marriage, is because there should be some form of restraint or control towards everything that we may desire to do. Because the truth is, we all have longings, right? We all have things that we desire to have, desire to own, desire to achieve. Every normal human being has these desires, okay? And they may be good desires, really. Sex is a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing that God created that is very pleasurable, okay? But then if there is no control, if there is no portion control, if I can put it that way, if there is no restraint towards this beautiful thing that God created, it's going to go out of hand. It is definitely going to go out of hand. Now, let me take, for example, the quest for money. Money is a beautiful thing, isn't it? But it can also turn evil when you are not able to control your desire or your passion to actually make money. You may find yourself engaging in different, means to acquire wealth, which may be detrimental to even your neighbors, detrimental to your person, just because you want to acquire wealth. So in the same vein, I really think that also with something as beautiful as sex that God created, there should also be some portion control. There should also be something around this thing, because I think that sex is sacrosanct, right? Sex is sacred. Now, I'm not saying this in the sense that, there's one. I know some people will be like, there's nothing about it, it's just two bodies, blah, blah, blah. I understand. The same way I'll also say that money is sacred. I think that in everything in this world, there should be some form of control to how it is being pursued, to how it is being gotten. There should be levels, there should be qualifications that you have to go through to attain certain heights in the world. That is why we actually have educational system. Someone cannot just wake up tomorrow and be like, okay, I think today call me Dr. Mrs. This, call me Professor this. If you wake up tomorrow and tell somebody, today I'm now a doctor, I want to be a doctor, this is my choice. Today we're talking about choice every other place, which is a beautiful thing. But then there's also a form of control when it comes to choice. So you cannot just wake up and say, today I'm now a doctor. People ask you how many years did you study? Let's see your certificate. Who awarded you? Who approved you to become a doctor or a professor? Right? So in everything in this world, if there is no law and order, if there is no control, if there is no restraint, if there is no strategy to attaining or acquiring anything, then we are in for a very big ride. Then everything is going to fall apart. There's the educational system that controls, that trains you before you achieve a degree or attain a degree. Right? And also in terms of making money, there are processes. You don't just wake up and boom, you want to blow. It is also the desire to get something so quickly, the desire to hit a jackpot. That has actually made us to fall into scams, Ponzi schemes, fall into different means of acquiring that thing, because we are trying to escape the normal process. We're trying to escape protocol, trying to escape, procedure. So there's a place for protocol, there's a place for procedure, there's a place of process, really. You won't just wake up and you want to become a mother, right? You won't just wake up and say, today, I won't do anything. I want to just sleep all through, when you know that you actually have to get to work. If not, you'll be fired, right? We are human beings, right? And we have desires. We can be uncontrollable sometimes. That is why there are laws that have to be put in place. If not, there will be anarchy, right? We know how in Nigeria today, some of our presidents, some of our people in power, you just wake up and they forge their sat, and we know how that pains us, because we feel like this person didn't actually go through process to attain these things. Now, where am I going with all of these things? I am of the opinion that even sex needs control. Even sex needs procedure. There should be process before you are eligible to have sex, right? Everything needs control. Everything needs procedure. Everything needs process. And why can't we use marriage as something that qualifies you to have sex? Right? Because I see so many people who don't really care about, when or where you decide to have sex and all of that. And they'll be like, well, as long as I'm an adult, I'm up for it. But I think that if there's no discipline towards when we should begin to have sex, if there's no discipline surrounding it, even teenagers will begin to have sex. It's already happening, right? Because there's so much information out there that makes it okay to engage in these things as long as you just deem it fit to, right? So what do we even tell our children? What do we tell them to actually encourage them not to engage in premarital sex? So having said these reasons why I think that there should be control, there should be process attached to sex even before we can start having sex. There should be a process. You should be certified. Yes, certified. You should be stamped, qualified to not start doing this thing. Yes, you should be. Because that will actually make our world saner. If not, I think because of the invention of marriage, if not for the invention of marriage, that curtails us to have children in marriage, have sex in marriage. I know that not everybody is keeping to that rule, but because of that institution that was created by God, it brought control. Imagine God just created Adam and Eve, and there was no unction that said the two shall come together, the two shall become one, or one shall chase 1,000 and two shall chase 10,000. If there was no marriage, if there was no institution called marriage, imagine what the world would have been like. Imagine it. I think marriage as an institution was brought about to control us, to control our insatiable desire for sex, our insatiable desire to just misbehave and just, do certain things. And again, is there no excitement about looking forward to something? When I was researching on this topic, trying to read several, people's opinions, I asked some of my friends what they thought about, this non-religious perspective towards sex. And I saw something on Quora. Somebody made a comment. He or she said, if you can have sex before marriage, why marry in the first place? Right? If it was okay for you to just have sex anytime you want, outside marriage, in marriage, after marriage, anyhow and anytime, then what's really the need for marriage? Because I think that for some people, what they actually look out for before they get married is the fact that, okay, I think, after this phase, now this is what I am now allowed to do. So if you could have kids when you want to, and we can even see the evidence in terms of celebrities who have so many baby mamas out there that can have sex anytime they want. Some of them are single. They don't really care about the marriage institution because whatever the marriage is offering them, they can have it outside marriage, right? So if it is okay for you to do all of these things before marriage, why are you getting married in the first place? Since you can have them, all right? So what will change? Nothing. There'll be nothing to look forward to because everything has already been done. So I think that marriage just makes it. I think looking forward to, having that intimate moment with your partner, looking forward to it will actually help you to be excited about the union, right? Okay, this is something new that I'm going to experience after this marriage, and not just the fact that we are cohabiting, but this is something beautiful that God created specifically for this occasion or for this moment of my life or this stage of my life. So it also gives you something to look forward to, I think. And another thing is that we also, I know that many of us may have heard this reason countless times about the fact that, it gives you so many experiences. Imagine having multiple, partners in the past. Someone was telling me yesterday how, if you're not compatible and all of that, how do you know who you're compatible with? So you need to try and, test for compatibility. If we all have agreed on not having sex before marriage, then there will be no discussion about compatibility, true or true. It is because of the fact that people are already trying out, people are already engaging in lots of things, multiple sexual partners. That is why you're now saying, okay, since A gave me this way and B did it this way, I think my option will be A style. So I think A style gives me more pleasure. Therefore, I will be seeking for A style. So when I get married and my spouse does not give me the same style that Mr. A gave me, then there will be a problem. Then I'll now say, oh, we are not sexually compatible, right? But if we can work on not, I think it complicates things. It complicates the union. It complicates marriage, really. It complicates it. So there's this looking forward to satisfaction that shouldn't even have existed in the first place, because we've already tried that with different people, and then we now probably have created a standard. But if both of you are starting on a neutral ground, in marriage, of course, you're trying out together, you're asking yourself questions, and you're learning in the act together, and not because you've had several experiences in the past, so you already have created something, and you're meeting this new person, and you're wanting the person to give you what the other person was giving you, because there was no control on your own part before you went into that union. So I think that one of the reasons, the non-religious perspective that I think, waiting till marriage to have sex gives, is that it rids you of all of this comparison, unnecessary comparison that we keep having, or we keep making. This person did it this way, I want you to do it that way. I've had many cases where during intercourse, the other partner mentions the other person's name, the ex's name during intercourse. Why? Because the person has to probably think about the ex that probably left you, and because you have these memories of that person and how that person made you feel good, you start mentioning the person's name during intercourse. All right. So another perspective can be the tendency to be unfaithful in your marriage. There's high tendency to be unfaithful with your spouse while you're married, because you already have all of this knowledge about how sex is done. You already have an expectation. You already know what it is that you're looking out for in sex. So when you finally get married and your partner isn't giving you whatever you have already in your mind about how sex should feel like, and how you should do it, and how you should feel about it, there's a high rate that you go out there to get it. The Okafor's law that we already know about. The Okafor's law, for those who don't know, is that a person has a tendency to have sex with somebody who you have already had sex with. Let me say this person was your ex. Each time you both meet, there's a tendency that you would have sex again, because there's this, I'm already used to doing this with you. So each time, I think I've heard stories about people who do things like goodbye sex before they get married, because they're already used to the bonding and all of that with that person. So there's this huge tendency. All right, there's nothing I'm saying here that is 100% accurate. I won't say there's 100% certainty that this is how it's going to turn out if you do this. There's no 100% accuracy, right? But there's an increased tendency that if you are used to having multiple sexual partners in the past before marriage, and then this person you get married to isn't giving you all of that, there's a tendency to want to try out with somebody else while you're in marriage. And those kind of persons will say, well, I love my partner, I love my husband, I love my wife, but then this area, it's like I have to go elsewhere to go get it. So in conclusion, I think that if there's no curbing, if there's no way to restrain people, if there are no laws or rules guiding who does this or who is not eligible to do this and who is eligible for certain things, the world will not really be safe, especially our children. Because the reason why we have unwanted pregnancies, unwanted in code, is because people are going about having sex when they're not supposed to, or when it's not the right time for them to do it. All right. So I don't know if I made sense, but this is just what I was able to come up with when I was thinking about this topic. And I really, really do think that the restrictions that we have, or what the society has created, or what God has created, this institution called marriage, was actually put in place to imbibe discipline, to create a form of culture of morals, culture of growth, culture of discipline in the lives of individuals. If not, people will just be out there, doing certain things without shame, without restraint. You'll be like, okay, I think once I'm up to 18, even though we know that even now, kids, even teens have been exposed to all of these things. So if there's no stronger bond or stronger way to curb these things are really going to get out of hand. Okay, so I believe that with this point of mine that some of us may have learned something. If you have more ideas, or if you think I didn't say some things that were right, you're free to share, because we are all here to learn. Thank you.